This conference will now be recorded.
And I'll give a camera. Hopefully everyone can see me. I'm going to apologize. I'm calling it off my iPad today, and so it might not be as good a quality. But I want to welcome everybody to the town hall meeting for today. With all that chatter ahead of time, it sounds like we're doing a real professional production, and you can credit Kathy with all of that. So I'm excited about today's call for a few reasons. One, because I think we have a good lineup. Two, it's sort of a gives a warm up for Jetsy, and hopefully I'll see many or all or most of you next month in Denver. And so today's lineup, why don't we just jump right to that? Today's lineup is going to feature a few things. One, I'm going to have Charlie, our chair, is going to make some comments. He's going to kind of talk about the after action report and the activities that the executive committee's been undertaking relative to the next round of fellows nominations. And then each of our our deputy and vice chairs will give a quick update about what they're up to. And then kind of our highlights today, as each call is having a couple of members from our own fellows group. Susan Thames is going to talk a little bit about today about foundation initiatives and things that relate to that. And Susan from Washington, D.C. Jeff Davis is barely from Orange County anymore, as he's going to relocate to the Dallas-Fort Worth area in about 2 months or less. But Jeff's going to talk about some industry government engagement, and specifically Camp Pendleton Day and some of the activities that happen there. And then, as we hope for each month, um, the floor is open, and that any of you that have something to share or questions are feel free to ask those things. This should be kind of informal. I'll ask each vice chair just to introduce the next person. I don't need to keep bouncing back and forth. So with that, I thank you all for being here today, and I'm going to turn it over to Charlie.
All right, thanks very much, Rick. I'm reporting in from our Matrix Design Group's new offices here in San Antonio. Not quite finished design yet, the decoration yet, but we're in here and we're going great guns. So it's nice to see nearly 50 people on the call now. I wish we could all have cameras on and see faces, but I understand why we're doing it the way we're doing it. So as Rick said, I'll give a little bit of update macro, and then I'm going to talk about our process this past year. The most macro update are some changes to your Academy of Fellows Executive Committee. As we move forward, starting at JETC, you're going to hear Cindy announce that we're going to have a new chair of the Academy for the next year, and that's going to be Brad Delaney. She's going to have to pry it out of my hands because I certainly embrace and love this role that I got to play this last year. But in my run-up year, they're going to ask me to lead industry government engagement, so that's going to take up a large chunk of time. The other change on the executive committee is Sally Riker is going to be stepping down as the vice chair for awards, and she is going to be replaced by Jeannie LeBron, and I think I saw Jeannie's name on the matrix here. Sally couldn't be on today because of the client requirement she has, but otherwise the executive committee is carrying a lot of continuity through to next year, which is great news. Continue with the same Deputy Ann Evie, who has a ton of experience on the XC, and we're still getting the same support from Kathy at the national office. And so I'm very confident the XC will run very smoothly next year. Rad is returning. Rad was Mark Hanley's deputy when Mark was the chair of the Academy a couple years back. So that will all continue smoothly. So what I want to do is I want to give just a brief summary for everyone about the process that we went through last year that arrived at the class of 2022 fellows. If you recall, there were 40 packages that got submitted last year. The executive committee went through our process, which started with all of us individually on the XC reviewed and scored each and every package. And then we all flew up to DC and met at the national office, spent a day discussing in each and every package, and ultimately, of course, arrived at a cut line. And then we used what I'll call a very military process where we very closely analyzed the packages above and below the line. And then we ultimately make a recommendation to the president of the society. And Mark asked us to go back and look at a couple of things, but ultimately Mark approved the slate as recommended. We did go back and look at a couple of interesting things, and there was there's some high points. So once we went through this process and we asked the executive committee, okay, how can we make this better for the future? We went through an entire after action report, and we are making a number of changes, and I'll hit on a couple of those high points. Last year, the big change was we had the RFPOCs and the nominators do the notifications to the fellows and to the deferred packages. The deferred packages, of course, was a little bit more sensitive. So that was a significant change. That was intentional on our part to try to make sure that we're getting the RFPOCs intimately involved in the process so that they are very familiar with those packages and endorsing of them. For this year, some of the macro changes that we're going to make, we're making the webinar mandatory for either the nominator and the nominee. They're going to have to annotate in the package that they either attended the webinar or watched it recorded, just so that we can make sure that we're getting people educated on the process. For the deferred packages, the recurring theme is how to properly articulate 10 years of active involvement in the society, active service to the society. There were still a handful of folks out there that need to be educated that it's not just 10 years of membership, that it's 10 years of active involvement. We are moving up in the presentation of the packages, the new fellows commitment statements. We are trying to make sure that we continue to share the message that being a fellow for SAME is more of a waypoint along your journey towards service to the society, rather than it being a culminating thing where you're doing it before you walk out the door and in retirement. And so we're making this purposeful change that go right up front so that folks can say how they intend to serve the society once they are selected. This past year, there were some concerns about when we put out the announcement. It was right before the holidays, and we ultimately aren't making a change to the process. We are going to make a change to the expectation of when folks will hear, and we're going to publish that expectation not be until January, but we still hope that the XC can go through their process and get the word out early enough, and we'll try to steer clear of that week before the holidays. That was completely on me as the chair of the XC, and I'll call it a rookie mistake that I made on timing and trying to put 10 pounds into a 5-pound sack. The other change that you're going to see in packages submitted going forward is there used to be a portion of the package that is just about awards, and we are expanding that portion to be awards or community involvement. And so we want to make sure that this concept of the whole person, that we get a good understanding of those people, because the reality is sadly, it's a package that meets the board. It's not the individual. And so we have to be true to the process and score that package. And so we wanted to give people the opportunity to paint the entire picture. And so that's coming in that awards and involvement area. And then finally, the other way to help us paint the picture is we're still having 3 nomination letters from the nominator, the RVP, and a post president. Sometimes those can be overlapping, and so you can go to a past RVP or a past post president. But we're going to try to get those up front in the package, because while that's not a scored portion of the package, it certainly helps. It's important because it helps the XC understand the whole person concept. And so you all the membership here, whether you're fellows or not, or aspiring fellows, you can be confident that the XC has a very deliberate, robust process that we go through to select the next class of fellows. And I was extremely proud to be involved in that this past year and know that those that are going to do it again next year are the same professionals, and so it will be consistent, which is important. So that's it for me, and I look forward to any questions at the end once we get through the other announcements. Rick, back over to you.
Yes, we could turn
Okay.
it back. It would just increase that capacity, and we'd have to get the funds, and then if
Okay,
Kimberly-
Charlie, I'm going to take
Okay.
it from here. Charlie,
Thank
can I
you.
get a thumbs up?
And
Can you
over
hear
to
me?
you. Thanks.
Okay. Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. I'm going to keep this very brief. We have our vice chairs that have a lot of great information to give you guys, so I'll save the time for them. The two things I did want to say though, I know Sally isn't on this call, but again, Sally Riker is leaving her role on the XC. Sally has given a ton to our organization and the academy, so just thank her for everything that she's given to us and wish her the best. And then the other thing, so a lot of you have probably been hearing, whether it's through your post or, you know, these, the AOF type of communications about JETSI. And that always happens every time it's right before JETSI or SBC. Everybody's excited and we're talking about all of the things going on. So I'm attending this year and I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of you, but there have been many, many years that I couldn't attend. And in those years, I would always sit here, you know, in the weeks leading up to it, like, man, I'm missing out. I feel like I'm going to miss out on so much. So I just want to assure you guys, there is so much that you can do to stay involved. You know, these town halls are a great opportunity. Just our communications, the webinars, things like that. So we will miss those of you that won't be in Colorado this year, but rest assured you're not disconnected by any means. So that is all that I had. Rick, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, yeah, let me know.
Thank you, Ann. Obviously, the biggest thing that I can update you on is we're having a town hall today. But I do want to say our next town hall is likely going to be in July, late July. We'll send a save the date ahead of time. And then I also want to, you know, I've been reaching out to many of you to speak at these town halls and share your experiences. But I want to open it up that if you have something you want to share, please contact me and let me know. And I'll have Kathy send you out a new email because I'm fresh in retirement. And I'm actually dropping my company email this week. And I have another one, but I'm not going to bother with that now. I just appreciate what all of you do. And having now completed or near completion of my first year on this committee, I can attest to the things Charlie and Ann have said, that the contributions and just the effort and commitment of everybody on this committee is tremendous, and that the Academy of Fellows is lucky to have people like all of you and the people on this committee that really are willing to give of their personal time for this cause. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Carrie Ann, and after that, Carrie Ann, maybe you can just hand it off to the next and so on until we get down to Susan. Okay, thanks. Do we have Carrie Ann? Perhaps not. So if not, I know Sally's not here. Jeannie, would you like to say a few words?
Rick, I don't think that Jeannie is on, but I can speak for Sally and Jeannie in
Okay.
that we definitely have our Gerald C. Brown Mentoring Awardee confirmed, and he will get his award at JTC. That's Jay Manick. So please be thinking of deserving people that should get the award for 2022. And also in the back of your mind, Golden Eagle Awards. So that's all I wanted to say about awards and recognition. So moving on to Patrice.
Hi, Kathy. Thanks so much. I did see Carrie Ann is here, but apparently her mic is not working. So she is going to have a newsletter with JETC highlights that's coming out next week. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Thank you, Charlie, very much for talking through the modifications that we're going to make to the selection process for next year. I appreciate everyone who gave feedback on this past year's process and selection. Charlie mentioned a couple of the changes that we are going to be making that, some of those are directly in response to feedback that we got. So we are excited for next year and looking forward to probably at the end of the summer starting that process up again. So I encourage those of you who know someone who you believe is qualified, feel free to reach out to any of us on the XC here if you want to talk about the person's background or what they've done, that kind of thing. We're all absolutely available to discuss. Again, that 10 years of involved service, that's a showstopper. So, please be sure that you really think about that and really look at, what that person has done. So that's all I have. I will turn it over to Sean Moore. Thank you.
Hey, Sean, before you go, I want to just publicly praise Patrice. For those that don't know, the vice chair for internal for the XC is the person that has the lead internally to the XC to lead us through that process of selecting the next round of fellows. This was Patrice's first year doing it, and she did an outstanding job. It is a huge time commitment, and we are all better as a society for her efforts. So thanks, Patrice.
Thanks, Charlie.
I echo that. This is Sean. I'm going to spare you all my camera. I'm not able to really do that today, so hopefully you can all hear me. Just here are a couple of events to highlight for you. Of course, we all know that JETC is coming up, and that Tuesday, the 10th of May, will be the Academy of Fellows, New Fellows Investiture Luncheon, and I highly encourage all of you to show up. Of course, those that are being invested and the most recent classes that did not have the opportunity to do so in person. And plenty of opportunities to sign up. I don't believe the room is limited per se for seating, so we encourage as many to be there to rouse on and support them. It's the first time we've had a luncheon format for this. And also we're going to invite some young professionals to join in to kind of stir up some of their own interest and understanding of what being a fellow is and the charge and the networking that's involved there. There will be a networking young fellows, young professionals and fellows session on the evening of Tuesday, the 10th of May, from 8 to 9:30 p.m., intentionally following after the president's reception. So that's why it's that later time frame. And given the JETC location, the locations are somewhat shared and they kind of lead into the other. So this will be a facilitated event. Jen Campbell will be providing her kind of some background and some means of talking with each other and getting to know each other. I encourage you all to check out the JETC schedule to actually sign up for that. They just want to make sure they have an understanding of a head count, and hopefully something you can all arrive at right at about 8 o'clock. It's not meant to be just a slide in later, because it could potentially disrupt or throw off a little of the facilitated discussion and interaction. In additional to that, in a pre-JETC event is being led by the young professionals, and there have been several invitations sent out to fellows, to my knowledge, to participate in a pre-mixer. So rather than first introducing ourselves or getting to know each other at JETC, this is meant to start a dialogue earlier. And the young professionals have set up some virtual sessions that start out next week, and will culminate in some people meeting for the first time and hopefully continuing their dialogue and potential mentoring relationships at JETC. So I encourage you all to just join in those events. As always, we're trying to set the tone and help encourage our young professionals understand what it is to contribute and serve. And that's all I have to provide for right now. Filios, over to you.
Thank you, Sean. Good afternoon, everybody. Good to be with all of you. Just some updates on the mentoring side. I'm still working. A couple of the initiatives that I announced in previous sessions we had is mentoring smaller posts in different kinds of activities, business-related operations or development for students. So I'm working with Mid-Maryland Post on both small business mentoring as well as student chapters. So that's an ongoing program engagement. I don't have a completion of either one of them to report, but in parallel with that, I've also been working on another level of mentoring, which is fellows getting engaged and mentoring different kinds of groups along the career path within the society. So the one area that we had some good success last year, and it was shared on the, I believe, the January newsletter, was the engagement we had at Joint Base Andrews, where we did that program in conjunction with the DC Post. And we had a number of fellows come in and speak to base personnel and a mix of industry folks too. Spoke to different technical subjects and operation subjects, and that was well attended. And the byproduct of that was a request from Joint Base Andrews for some additional mentoring opportunities for their base staff. So this coming Monday, we will have another session at the base where we will speak to the topic of cybersecurity. And our speaker will be one of our fellows, Luncheon, who's well known on the subject. So he will be there. So that just gives you another example of the kinds of engagements that we are able to do. Obviously, this engagements are here on my regional level, but I wanted to urge all of you from different parts of the country, if you're involved with any group of folks who need mentoring or they're interested in any subject, we can leverage the knowledge of our 800 plus active fellows that we have and organize something in your area. And these two events that I just shared is just pilot programs of what we can replicate around the country. So if you have any ideas, feel free to reach out to me and we can talk offline and see how we can organize something in your area. The other two initiatives that I am, it's going to be next year's. I'm fortunate and honored to continue for another year with the XC on the AOF, and next year the other two initiatives that we're going to put some additional effort on and establish them as a hopefully ongoing tradition is engagements with the young professionals groups within the society, the COI, as well as the college outreach group, where we will plan either by semi-annually or quarterly, we'll have some form of a gathering, whether it's on a webinar or at some conference, where we will have fellows speak to specific subjects related to mentoring at that level. That initiative is just starting now. I've reached out to both groups. There's a lot of interest. So when we get that going, we will be reaching out to our fellows community to see if we can get some speakers for topics to volunteer and be part of a panel. So looking forward to that. And the last item, and my next speaker, our next speaker, Susan Taines, can reinforce that we still need to engage fellows to be mentors as part of the LDP program. I don't know how many we need. Maybe Susan can give some clarity on this when she's talking, but anybody who's interested in serving as a mentor to the next class of LDPs, LDP participants, please reach out to me or send me a message through the chat if you want, and be happy to include you in a pool of candidates and work with Susan to get you in line to mentor one of our young professionals. So thank you for the opportunity to reconnect with you, and I'll pass it on to Susan. And if you need anything on fellow mentoring, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Susan Thames here. I see a lot of my class of 2019 classmates here on the call, so that's really cool. Hello. The best class, of course, we have to say that's during one of the mentions here during the town hall. Yeah, as you can see my slide, my participation with SAME, and did start at the New Jersey Post level, and I have I can just speak briefly about the foundation board. During Capitol Week, Sal, during our lunch, gave a very great, comprehensive summary of our largest effort, which is the fundraising component. And that's really taken over a lot of our foundation board meeting time. So Kathy can attest to that, of course. It's a large effort. a lot of great people that are participating and volunteering to gather the efforts and come up with some great campaign ideas. So, hi Ron, yes. And as far as LDP, that's my heart right there. I started how I became involved with it. It was Mike Darrow and Caroline Roberts were presenting the program 4 years ago, when I was just a volunteer on the foundation board. And they said, who wants to help? So me and Angie Martinez raised our hands. And so since then, we've been involved with the LDP, and it's been great team, great committee. We have Friday calls every 11:30 every Friday. A lot of you have been mentors, Sean Moore, every year through the program, and it's fantastic because the energy just is great. We're always excited about, you know, how the engagement, all the feedback, and people will ask, what is the responsibility? I mean, they know what a mentor is. A lot of us have them in our own careers or lives, but it can go anywhere from just touching base. I know I was a mentor the first year to Ben Nichols, and touching base once a month, you know, just to see how they're doing. Everything was new, the curriculum was new. Now LDP has really grown, and we have a pretty good curriculum going. So a lot of us can help on the task force or the LDCOI with letting you know what the expectations are. But again, there's no cookie cutter with the mentor program. You and the participant make it what it is. What I try to do is host a happy hour in the beginning of the program, just for the mentors and our task force, to let you know what to expect for the program. But then it's kind of on your own with the participant of what you make of it. So we have, we have some really active, Scott Granger is on every Friday on our call. He has helped his participant, Ariel Waters, who happened to be deployed this month, because there's a project component, capstone project component for the curriculum. And he's been wonderful, helping, communicating, and keeping it smooth, just to make sure that the participant graduates. So I saw the lineup. I am gathering, but I am handing the baton as mentor point of contact for the LDP to Ree Miskinen. So she's going to handle the next class with Philios. I know you spoke with her, but we will communicate about how many fellows. But again, if you are interested, it's a great program to be involved with. People ask me how time consuming is it to be a mentor in the program. Again, you make it your own. If you're able to give, 10 hours a month, that's okay. Some can give more. And again, we have participants that are very active and some that are just doing the curriculum in the books. And I'm trying to think, I think that's pretty much, I work with Philios in the mentor advisory group. We have a lot of resources we've been working on to just to help people. There's a lot of opportunities through the mentor advisory group. If you want to be a presenter on a program, whether it's LDP, whether it's the camps, participate in the camps, or even the student chapter level, we will be a resource for that through the mentor advisory group. And the corporate level, we have Thad, who is a representative from, he works for Kiewit. So we have a sustaining member point of contact that works on our mentor advisory group. So we have a lot of balls rolling, and when it comes to mentoring, and that's all I pretty much have. If anyone has any questions about involvement or my passions. I don't know who I toss it back to.
I'll take it, Susan. First
Thank
of all,
you.
I want to thank you, Susan and Jeff, who I'm going to introduce now. Both accepted the role today without me really having to twist their arms. So I really appreciate that a lot. And you can see why, that they're really committed to this activity and to the fellows. And so Jeff Davis is, I know Jeff really well because we're both in Southern California and see Jeff in Orange County and in San Diego. And I've watched him kind of fill a lot of seats in SAME, but also at the post level, just a tremendous job. And so I'm excited that Jeff is here and able to share some of the things he's doing. And if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, consider yourself fortunate, because he'll be looking for you when he gets there. So Jeff, I'm gonna hand it to you.
Here I come.
Okay.
Thank you, Rick. Class of 2016, so #1 class, I guess. We're gonna fight over that. Anyway, I'm here to talk about our annual Camp Pendleton Day. It's one of our premier events in Southern California. As you can see here, the mantra is it's a day of learning, networking, and giving back. Just some fun facts regarding the event. It's the 16th year this year. I've been the chair for the last 10 years. This will be my last year, as I am going to Dallas. It's really evolved into a great event. It started out as a 2-post joint event with Orange County and San Diego early on, and it's now developed into a 5-post joint event between Orange County, San Diego, LA, or Los Angeles, Inland Empire, and Oxnard, Ventura. On average, we're getting about 400 attendees at the event, get about 50 exhibit booths. And then over the last 10 years, we've actually donated about $250,000 to local military charities. So that's one of the things with this event. We are very proud to be able to take a portion of the proceeds and give back to the local military charities. So the Camp Pendleton Day is basically every year in June. And what you're looking at here is just some photos from the event. What we try to do with the event is we try to hit or incorporate all 5 strategic plan elements into the event. So we usually have IGE panels. We try to have a topic on resiliency, whether it's energy resiliency, climate resiliency, whatever it may be. Just depends on how we build the program. We focus on leadership development with the young professional group. The young professionals have a social the night before, and then during the event, you can see here in the upper middle there above leadership in STEM, we'll have some time where we can get together with the young professionals and talk about leadership and STEM. Actually, we also invite the college student chapter from San Diego State and the student chapter from Saddleback College to attend. So that's how we kind of hit the STEM component and introduce them to our industry. And then the transitioning vets, we have something called the Transitioning Military to Career event. It's actually going on, it goes on concurrently with Camp Pendleton Day. It's just in a separate room. And you can see here above transitioning vets, this is a photo of that event where we work with the Camp Pendleton transition office, and we get folks to attend there. So we have a lot of, we really try to incorporate all the strategic plan elements into this event. You can see the networking there, and then the giving back. What we do is we identify 2 local military charities, Operation Homefront or Armed Services YMCA or Challenged Athletes Foundation, Operation Rebound, and others. And we typically will donate $10,000 to each local military charity. Next slide. And this is the last slide. Just wanted to talk about some lessons learned. I mean, done this a long time, and I just through you guys in running some of your events may experience the same thing or whatnot. But I think it's critical that we start planning early and meet regularly. It seems kind of intuitive, but that's not how it always happens as I've observed in some other events. But we start planning for Camp Pendleton Day in early February. And the event is in June, so we have that 3 to 4 month period to really kind of get everything dialed in terms of the program and stuff. And we do meet regularly every 3 weeks. And the committee, which is about 15 people, we start to meet more frequently as the event gets closer. Second thing, we noticed that the numbers don't really the registration numbers don't go up until we get closer to the event. This is my version of the 80-20 rule. 80% of the attendees register with less than 20% time remaining. That holds pretty much every year. I will say that this year seems to be an anomaly. We've had great response already this year. We've already gotten, I think, 150 to 200 registrants. We've sold out on our platinum and gold sponsors, and we're just getting a very, very strong response. And it's probably due to the COVID rebound or whatnot, but people are really, I think, excited to get back to this event. During our question and answer period, we do have a microphone so that people can ask verbal questions, but we've noticed over time that we get more engagement by actually putting a cell number up and having people text questions to that, and then we will read those texted questions. A lot of, I think in 2019, which was our last in-person event, I think we ended up not getting to about 20 questions. And so what we ended up doing is we had that list of questions because they were all texted to us, and we ended up going back to the speakers and the presenters, and actually they ended up answering the questions, and we ended up doing a follow-up about a week or two later with all the attendees, and basically said, here's the questions that weren't answered, and here's the answers that were provided. So that was one benefit of using the texting the question approach. There's no such thing as too much networking. We always send out feedback questionnaires to all the attendees, and virtually every year it comes back that there wasn't enough networking. There wasn't enough networking, and we're building in hour slots for networking. Before the event starts, in the middle of the event, at the end of the event, and it just seems that networking is where it's at, and there's never too much networking. Camp Pendleton Day starts off early in the day, and we go through the end of lunch and a little bit after lunch. And I will say that every year the attendance wanes as time goes on. So we really try to get the key stuff up front, have our keynote address up front to address that. Here's just a few other things. We pay for an audiovisual consultant and a photographer. We had one year where we tried to use the in-house audiovisual, and it was almost a disaster. That's part of the reason I don't have any hair left. I mean, after that experience, we basically said we're going to commit to getting a professional audiovisual in-house, and we've done it every year, and it works great. And then the last thing here, the military charities resonate well with all the attendees. We always get a lot of great feedback, and all the attendees are always making comments about, we're so glad that we're able to give back to, to this charity or to that charity. So, and then the graphic here is this year's flyer. The event is on Thursday, June 16th. It's actually my last event that I'm going to do. I'm actually moving on June 18th, so I'm packing it all in before the 16th, and then I'll be heading east on Saturday the 18th. But that's pretty much it. I just want to let you guys know about this premier event that's happening out here in the Southwest and some of the things that we've learned over the years. Thank you.
Okay, Jeff, thanks so much, and Susan, thank you to you as well. That was really nice update from all of you. Kathy, you want to go through these dates, but these are the upcoming things. I think many of you know. Sean mentioned some of them: the Investiture, the Society Ball, which is on a Thursday night, and Sean, I think you said the event is Tuesday night at Jesse. I think the reception and the mentoring event are Tuesday night, so those dates aren't on here, but I think that's also the 10th, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
and
correct.
then the post leaders workshop in August, and I think a lot of the posts are already selecting folks to attend that. And then if you look out a little further, next November, the small business conference. And as I mentioned before, the next town hall, without a date being fixed at this point, it looks like mid to late July, and we'll get that out as a save the date. But I'm going to open it up now and see if anybody has any comments or questions for Charlie or Susan or Jeff in particular, or any of us for that matter. But feel free to chime in. Thank you. Thank you all for attending today too. We're getting 50 people on these calls pretty consistently, which really bodes well for good representation and engagement. So thank you all.
This is Chuck Boaz, over.
Yes.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm on the phone. I'm sorry. I've got it up on the screen and on the phone. I'm from Mid-Atlantic region, Central Virginia Post. Quick question for you. During the Capital Week luncheon, I had the privilege to talk with Margie Namba. We were talking about diversity in the society, and I see the society just released this commitment statement to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I'm curious, has the Academy given any consideration on how we'll support it through either existing or new communities of interest?
Thanks for your question there. Let me answer that two ways. So the first is when we went through our process evaluating packages this year, once we determined the cut line and we looked above and below the line and whatnot, we did step back and look at the demographics of the class that was selected and thus the inverse of that as well. And fortunately for us is the demographics as presented turned out to be the same rate of selection. There were no unusualities in the selection for fellows. And so that's great news for the Academy. But I think what your question is really after is how will fellows get opportunities to support DEI across the society? Is that really what you're driving at?
Yes, I think about mentors and other things over.
Yeah, we haven't, as the XC, we haven't taken that on yet, but that is a really good suggestion, and it's an area that I imagine that as Philios, as our vice chair for mentorship, moves out, that may be something new to explore that I imagine we would have plenty of volunteers for as we look to really robust that effort in the society. So thanks for that question. Philios, any comments there?
Yeah, if I may, thank you, Charlie. Let me get my camera on too. I mean, I don't have a specific answer right now. It's definitely a great topic, but one item that I want to throw here, and regarding the question or anything else that folks have in their minds about initiatives or whatever we're going to do about something, if any of you on the call have any suggestions on if you were in our shoes, what you will be doing or what things you'd like to do, bring it up, just share with us, because it doesn't mean that we got all the answers in our fingertips. Inclusivity in terms of opinions and ideas is very important for us. So feedback is important. We are, as Charlie said, we are looking to be inclusive, not just in terms of our judging of the applications, but even the events that we're holding. I know on the mentoring side, I'm reaching out to diverse populations, both in terms of races and women and men and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of that going into our minds as we reach out. But if any of you are in a forum where that could further be reinforced, please reach out and give us your own ideas, and then we'll use a conduit of our group to facilitate that.
Yeah, so, thanks, Philios, for that. Kathy put an important comment in there. It was of note. We track the commitment statements of the new classes, and we look back across the previous years as well, and we were quite pleased to see a number of the new fellows have advancing DEI or helping the society advance that as their commitment statement. And so we will certainly be turning towards them and asking for their ideas and involvement in trying to help further the opportunities for the society. So thanks for that question.
Well, Charlie, if I may, I want to pick on something about this commitment statements. I saw Susan's commitment statement before, and for this audience of 50 of us, this is a very important part of the application process. But the one thing that I saw in Susan's commitment statement, it wasn't that just what she's going to do about engagement and all that stuff. The second half of her commitment was the very specific action item she was going to take to fulfill that commitment. And that is one thing we just want to reinforce with everybody and those that any of you have an influence on when they prepare the applications. Just let them know that, yes, whatever passion they have, let's call it out, but then the next half of the statement just asks them to write what specific action they're going to do to fulfill that commitment. You know, which group they're going to impact, or which chapter they're going to do, whatever it is. That's the part that is very important for the Academy of Fellows, and we want to encourage that as much as possible.
Thanks, Helios. All right, next question.
I have a question for Jeff, if I may, for his presentation. Jeff Davis, good to see you, sir. Jeff, can you share with us any feedback you got from the attendees? You talked about lessons learned, things that we can do better, but when you host these events and the people who are receiving the benefit of participating in your event, have you gotten any feedback on the value they're getting, or other things that they would like to have be part of this event that you could share with us?
Are you talking? You're talking about the attendees, or are you talking about the people
yeah,
coming?
Yeah, the attendees. Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah. As I said, Helios, I mean, I think a lot of people come in for the networking. I mean, the program kind of drives the attendance. I mean, they want to see what type of opportunity to come in. I mean, we always have NAVFAC Southwest there. We have NAVFAC Pacific there this year. We're actually going to get Bechtel to come in to talk about the GBSD program this year. So the program, people come to see that stuff, but I think when they're there, it's all about the connections. And I think it's probably very, networking on steroids this year, because everyone is just, there's a hunger out there for it. So that's the biggest thing we get. The feedback we get is, make sure you have enough networking time and allow for that. We actually, one year we actually did cut the networking down, and we heard about that. And people came back and says there was not enough networking time. You need to do that. So that's one thing we make sure that we do, is always allow enough networking time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Helios, Tom Nichols. I would have to second what Jeff says. I have attended Camp Pendleton Day for probably the last 10 years. And what Jeff said is right on. The network, I mean, the speakers are great and everybody expects that, but the networking, I think, is where the real money is made. Just to see people that you haven't seen in quite a while and be able to catch up with them. And that really fosters great business in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, thank you.
Okay, any other questions out there? Running dry. Well, we have an excellent track record of being an hour or less on this call, as we do pretty much on all of our committee calls. So that's commendable in this day of extensive meetings. So I'm going to just add one more thing, because Charlie told you in the beginning that he'll be stepping off in that role. And in my first year, I've really enjoyed working with Charlie, and I know the rest of the committee, we're going to miss working with you on this particular committee, Charlie, but I know you'll be around doing other things that benefit everybody. And
You're here.
Yeah. So, and then I guess I could echo on so many of the members, because I'm just, like I said before, I'm so impressed with what everyone's done on this committee. Nobody shies away from responsibility, which is really great. So, and we're looking for all of you to keep your involvement up, and hope to see you next month.
Thanks, Rick. And a final praise to Susan and Jeff. Thanks very much for volunteering your time to present today. And look forward to, if anybody is inspired by hearing that, if they want to be the ones to speak at a future town.
Hey, this is Sharon. Is Patrice going to answer Mercedes' question? Or do you want me to?
No, I feel terrible.
Oh, Sharon, do you want to jump in?
Sure. I was just going to say, Mercedes asked a question in the chat about Society Ball. And, I'm in the car, so I don't have the list of awards right in front of me. But certainly the President's Medals are awarded. And there are other, maybe Kathy can help me out, or somebody from staff. There's lots of awards given at Society Ball. But really, it's just a great time to be with people and not have a specific agenda. Also, there's also lots of dancing and rabble rousing. That's just a good time.
Yes, it is a ton of fun. Mercedes, I'm sorry that you won't make it, but certainly, hopefully one of these years you'll get there. Yeah, Kathy, I don't know if you have handy the list, but certainly
I
there
don't
are
have
a
handy
number of
the list,
awards.
but I don't have handy the list, but it is the President's Medals, it's other SAME awards, it's all the service awards, the gold medal.
Right.
And then
Vocals,
just so everyone's aware, the Gerald C. Brown Mentoring Award is given out at the Academy of Fellows Investiture Luncheon. So that is not at the Society Ball, but all the other awards are at the Society Ball.
And it's just a ton of fun.
Thank you.
Yes, it's a good excuse to get dressed up and everybody's wearing their medals that they've won previously. And yeah, just an awesome time. And
Yeah,
did I mention dancing and wearing 20s outfits?
I saw that.
Yeah, they actually will be filling up a time capsule at the Society Ball and put in centennial elements to be opened up in 2120. And so they're going to be loading things in. I'm supposed to even wash my old red shoes and bring those and put them in the time capsule. So
bravo!
Don't wash them, buddy. Don't wash them.
Carrying the originals with all the mileage on them because I got new ones, air sketchers, and so the old ones are getting cleaned up and polished to go in the time capsule.
That's great.
You're too young to go in a time capsule. Well, thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a great rest of the week.
Bye.
Take care, everybody. Okay, week.